All right, so this is me, man, coming live and direct to you. Should be good on the game. I just want to just every day start documenting my experiences because I've realized that your experiences kind of dictate memories, and your memories, of course, help to keep you focused, help to keep you motivated toward future goals, right? You know, situations happen in life, you have to deal with it, but the reality is that you are by yourself and you're responsible for dealing with your own situations. Everybody else got their own life. My experience from this whole thing has been that you're on your own. You got to be responsible. You got to be disciplined. You've got to make sure that you take care of you. You know, so when I come back and come back to this time in 2029, 2030, I'll be able to say, yep, I remember when I went through all that. You know what I'm saying? And here's the lesson learned from it. For me, it's pretty amazing because, like I said, I didn't realize how much I really should have taken care of myself, but I didn't do a good job of that. You know? So the lesson learned I could say here is take care of yourselves, guys. Do the right thing. Make sure work hard to do what you got to do so that you can be able to live a healthy life. Does that make sense? Yeah. When I was in a nursing home from October of last year, I thought, I would recover pretty fast. I thought, okay, I'm going to recover pretty quick. I'm going to, get back to normal. Maybe not 100% walking correctly, but 80%, 90%. You know, I never thought that I was going to have complications, and then those complications turn into uh, other complications. I really thought, with all my heart, that I was going to be able to just, recover. But the lesson learned has been okay. The lesson learned has basically been that ain't guaranteed. What I really have to say when I got to the nursing home, I was kind of like shocked because of the number of people that were there. I should have gone to nursing homes years ago. I just didn't. It's my fault. I regret that. But the good news is now that I've been in one, there we go. Now that I've been in one, I'm kind of, I'm more sensitive, I would say, more sensitive and understanding to what it's like. The first thing I will have to say, first and foremost, was that if you're a person that has insurance and you've got your money, man, you blessed. Oh God, no, that's right. If you don't, you're cursed. The experience that I had, unfortunately, after having insurance for the whole time I've been in Atlanta, 13 plus years, to then not have insurance. So what ends up happening is I end up having to go to Grady Hospital, and that's very important. And so for me, it was really an interesting experience because having to go to Grady, having to be there compared to Northside, to Piedmont, There's so many other ones. You realize that it's all based upon how much money you make that determines the kind of health care you get. So you make good money, you got better health care. You make bad money, you don't have good health care. What has been interesting, I will say, is this is that I mean, here I am, making probably $100,000 a year, which ain't nothing because I spent it instead of saving it. So that's the worst, the waste. But I thought I would continue to make that. I never thought that it would end. I got certifications after certifications, but guess what? Those end, and you got to get new ones. So everything kind of kept coming around more and more knowledge, which is good. Just like you graduate from college, fine. 10 years from now, you better get another degree. 20 years from now, you better get another degree. So the lesson I can say from my experience was and is that you got to get that education. So that's what I'm doing now. The grateful thing I can say is that at least I got my brain and my left hand. I can think, I can talk. Um, I was in the hospital with one guy who had a stroke, but he was doing drugs and he was doing all kind. He said he was on drugs. He was smoking weed. He was doing everything wrong with his body. So he ends up having two strokes, and he was only at that, I think maybe 38, 37 years of age, and he basically can't move his legs, can't move his. He can move his mouth. He still can talk. Oh yeah, he still can talk. He could talk. He could he could flirt with the nurses. He flirt with the nurses all day. Lord have mercy. It's so frustrating. But he couldn't move his arms. He couldn't move his left side, his whole left side. And the sad part about it was that he had no insurance, and I had no insurance, and I felt really like crap because of the fact that I had insurance, but it's only based on a job. And after leaving or being downsized from AT&T, no job has been great compared to AT&T. I wish I could have trained to something else, but God didn't give me the information to do it, so I wasn't able to do it. And the people that I thought would help me, they turned their back on me because I guess I turned my back on them. I don't know. I thought I was a better black man than that, but I guess I wasn't. Um, as it relates to what happened to me, the sad part about it was that I was, frustrated because of the fact that I really wanted the best for myself, but that's not what I got. So when I look back and I think about this whole experience, I say, okay, well, you tried to make decisions based upon what you could do. I had no place to go. I called Shay. I didn't want to call Shay. I didn't want to stay with her. I could stay with my aunts because they're older, and I had no job. 1 month turned to two, turned to six, turned to a year. Then I get sick, and I then lose 7 more months. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Murphy's law. And so the tragic part was sitting in that room every day on my back, and and with the right knee pain, taking oxycodone for the right knee pain that took forever to heal. I think for the first time now, the right knee pain has stopped. I mean, there's no pain, but the knee has been fused in a spot where it's crooked, not the way it's supposed to be. I don't know the name of the diseases that I had on my knee. If I went to the doctor, I would have probably got some better names. I did go to one doctor, but I never really took went back to that doctor. I went to like four different doctors because I was trying to get the surgery, and each one of them were trying to put me off. You saw, remember that? I went to one doctor, he referred me to another doctor, he referred me to another doctor. No one would help me. I had a real job, I had a career, but and I had insurance, you know. But here's the thing, I didn't know also the other problems in my body, aka high blood pressure, high blood sugar, blood clots. And so even though I needed the knee, I had the other issues going on too. All because of how fat I was. And so if I only knew then what I know now, I would have eaten so small that my body would have burned calories by starvation. That's exactly what I did. I was at that rest home for 7 months, and because of the fact they fed me that scientific dietitian meals, I lost weight. I got enough to live, and I lost weight. I realized I overate too much all my life, and that's why I've always been fat. The good news is that's in one way, that's less weight on my knees. But at the same time, my knees have been damaged because of all the years of being overweight. It's pretty sad when you think about it. And so for me, it's frustrating because I was like, God, you know, I'm good. I'm 280. No, I wasn't. I was never good. When I was even dating Shay, I wasn't good. I was bad. I was very, very bad. Very, very bad. And the tragic part about this is that I learned from how life turned out, how bad I was. I learned that, I didn't, I really didn't have to eat so much. So now I'm in a personal care home, and I'm going to actually have um, less bread, uh, because I don't need to have as much bread. It turns to fat anyway. I've gained about 10 pounds since I've been here. I don't want any more. I'm gonna burn off pounds by eating less, and we're still gonna live. And the good news is we learn to eat less. You're not gonna starve. You're gonna starve off the extra fat. That's the catch. Uh-huh. The other side of that coin, also, I just say I learned was when it came down to Miss Downing, my ex. Um, Whenever I had dated her, I was always the one that spent most of my money to come visit her. I should have been selfish. I should have saved my money. I should have said nobody, outside of my 5 mile radius I would date. I'm not gonna spend an hour driving to come see you. Not 52 times a year. Because if you're in a relationship, you're gonna have to spend weeks, months, years, you know. Then what ends up happening is I end up having to stay with her. And so when I stayed with her, I was hoping, man, there'd be a restaurant, there'd be some stores, there'd be some businesses. Do you know if there's no businesses, there's no restaurants, there's nothing for black people in Riverdale and Jonesboro and Hampton? They all get everything from up in Alpharetta. So when I was living up in Alpharetta, spending money to live up there, it was the best thing because that's what the jobs are. Why should a person live in Riverdale where there's nothing and work up in Alpharetta where there's something and then spend all that years in a car sitting still? That's a fat sentence. For all the hours you spend driving in a car, that's all the hours that you're gonna gain fat. That's why we got so many fat black folks driving all day. It's just science. You're sitting in a car going 50 miles instead of running that 50 miles. You run that 50 miles, you're gonna burn that fat off. You drive 50 miles, you ain't burning nothing, gaining fat. You know. So that's a lesson I realized. And so I was willing to move. I wanted to move. I put stuff in storage thinking that I would have it to move, and I realized now, man, I should have gave all that crap away. I'm really serious. It ended up being taken away from me anyway. So now, God, I just look at God like, yeah, well, He didn't say nothing. You didn't ask or you didn't try. So the lesson I can say I've learned from this experience is this: when a person is 20 and they're 30, they're 40, they don't get sick. You got to plan for that. You got to have money in the bank for that. People used to say you got to have 6 months of income. You got to have a year of income. And then what happens if you lose your job? You lost your insurance. Yeah, yeah. So the lesson learned from this experience has been that, man, and so for me it's like, wow. So the good news is now I'm coming up to August. My student loans on forbearance right now. I don't want it to default, but it's coming down to account now, and I got to call them. The job that I qualified for a year ago, I have not been in that job, so I don't qualify for it. I got to prove a white man that I can learn, but I've been in the hospital for almost a year, and when I had a black lady named Sherry Cochran give me a chance. None of these white people have given me a chance that I've had that work for. Yeah, it hurt me coming to Atlanta because I thought if I'm black and educated, I get a chance. But I realize now, no, it's not necessarily true. The reality is that if you are black and you are quote unquote educated, and if a white man wants to stop you, you stopped. And then if you are, excuse me, sick, stop yourself. So now I owe $183,000 to Northside Hospital. I don't know how much I owe to Harborview and Grady. I really hate it because I should be 75 going through this, not 50. But I don't realize I wasn't gonna make it to 75. I was already dead, 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 dead. It's already dead. I'm glad that we having these conversations. You know. Now let's go and talk about relationships.
One of the lessons I learned. I spent roughly 10 years and I dated two women in 10 years. And both of them were bad, black and white. They both were bad. The white girl was supposed to be more religious than I gave her credit to be, but she wasn't. She wasn't. She just liked black people, preferably Africans, because the Africans were dumber and they could be more manipulated and controlled. Remember, when you go look at Africa, you look at the way Africa is, they're still 100 years behind in most places. They treat white people like gods. Once they come to America, they look at African Americans like fools. And we rightfully deserve it, because we are. We're really screwed. We really messed up. We really, really destroyed. White supremacy, racism has done a hell of a work on us. And those blacks that come to America from Africa are the elite blacks. The rest of the blacks that live in Africa can't come here. They're too poor. They're just as messed up too. So it's kind of interesting. But I didn't think that it would turn out the way it turned out. The good news is that, right at the end of the relationship, I dated this one girl named Mary Ann. Kind of found out her girlfriend was talking to two different guys, me and somebody else, at the same time. When I stopped buying all kind of things on my dime for her, and she realized, oh, he's not gonna pay for me, she moved on to the next rich black guy. She was always trying to find a rich black guy to go after. I can't wait for God to judge her like he's got to judge her. Because the thing about it, he don't want to judge her, but he's got to. Because you can't do evil against God's will and not get judged. That's his words, not mine. But the lesson I learned from that experience was I'll never ever put my finances in a woman again. I will never go buy a lot of stuff for a female. She, that woman has got to pay for what they did. I'm tired of being a Christian that's poor and impoverished, that's being used by ministers to get wealthy. I'm tired of it. No more. No more. The interesting part about that was the other girl I dated was an atheist. Over 13 years I dated her. The girlfriend never went to church. Stayed at home unless her job required her to go into work. And never got involved with a sorority until now, at the age of 60. But here's the catch. Nobody wants 60-year-olds. Nobody wants 60-year-olds or 70s or 80s. It's too late for you. You're just a financial conduit for the fraternity, but nobody's going after 60-year-old women. And with a lot of the things that I learned negative about her, I realized that she can't be successful in a marriage. Before I moved into her house, she had a cousin that she invited to come down and stay with her. The cousin supposedly is on her dad's side, and they're not really close cousins. So I was like, okay. And during that time, I wasn't talking to her because I was dating Mary Ann and going through the wrong nightmare relationship with her. So what basically happens is He is up over a year coming to a new city, living way down near the bottom of the totem pole, and he couldn't get a job. I mean, I didn't figure out why. Because where she lives is too damn far from the jobs of Atlanta. They're in Alpharetta. They're in Duluth. They're not downtown. They're not South Atlanta. They're not West Atlanta or East Atlanta. They're North Atlanta. That's a shock. I thought, well, I got a car. That's all I need. As long as that car, you got gas money and maintenance costs to keep it going. But what happens when you don't? You're in trouble. I was grateful when I got a job. The first thing I did was I moved close to my job. And then for the first 5 years, instead of buying a car, which I should have, I just walked to work. And I rented cars from Hertz. Spent every week $250 a week. Could have bought a car for that price, for that amount of money I spent. My credit was screwed, but I still could have bought a car. I used to spend $250 for 3 days a week to ride a car, or rent a car. $250 for 3 days. That's how much you're charged for a month. That's 30 days. So again, the lesson I learned was I knew how to. That was the first time I had made as much money as I ever made in my life, and I sure spent it. I sure spent it up. I may never get a chance again. But I tried. I did try. But I failed again. So again, her cousin, ended up leaving Shay's house. And Shay, never called her again. Never came back around. He never tried to work with her. It was almost like she died to him. What would make a man treat a family member that way? Something is wrong with that person. It's not always, I love when people try to do this. They always try to make it, if something happens to them, it's your fault. It ain't always 100% their fault. It's your fault and their fault. It's multiple. And so the lesson I learned from this experience was that, wow, man, I never had to stay with anybody ever in my life. Not during the time of losing a job. Even when I lost a job before, and I lost a job a couple times over the last 4 years, I always was able to get another job within about 4 months. Not this time. Because I was sick and didn't know it. And now I know how sick I was. I know now I should have been in the hospital and getting help years ago. But again, the lesson I learned the hard way was that Yahweh really doesn't care about you. You got to care about yourself. When I see the number of people dying, men getting shot, family members going through what they go through, if we could say Yahweh truly cared, He put people in our lives to give us wisdom so that we make the right choices. If we keep making wrong decisions, I have to challenge Yahweh. And so, one of the lessons I can say from this experience, and it's so many, when you're in the hospital, you're on your own. I really wish I had a woman there for me. But when you get sick, those people leave you. They leave you. And I really hate that. I now realize when Shay said, "Oh, you could just get back up and just go get rehab and start walking again." No, I couldn't because number one, I had five other medical conditions in my body that needed to be helped. I was not healthy at all. Not including sleep apnea and stuff like that. We're just talking about, yeah. And so the lesson I can say I've learned from that experience is, don't get mad anymore. Just remember, you're on your own. We gotta shave our nose hairs and do our shave. Check our face every day.